Princess Kael'Shara stood before the massive viewport of the diplomatic vessel, her silver eyes reflecting the endless stars beyond. The crystalline patterns on her blue skin seemed to shimmer with satisfaction as she watched the distant nebula clouds drift past. 3 months of difficult negotiations had finally ended in success. The Kryn Collective had agreed to peace terms, and the border wars that had claimed millions of lives would finally stop. "You seem pleased, Your Highness," Admiral Thexnor said as he approached from behind. The old warrior's scarred face showed the weight of decades spent in military service. His red armor bore the markings of countless campaigns. "I am," Kael'Shara replied softly. "My father will be proud. This peace will define my future reign." She turned to face her mentor and guardian. "Perhaps now our people can focus on growth instead of destruction." Thexnor nodded slowly, though his expression remained cautious. "Peace is always preferable to war, Princess, but we must never forget those who came before, those who threatened our very existence." Kael'Shara had heard these stories since childhood. Every Valorian knew the ancient legends of the void demons, the creatures from beyond known space who had appeared 300 years ago, with weapons that defied understanding. They were said to be pale-skinned monsters who felt no pain and showed no mercy. The great Emperor Kalenvex, her great-grandfather, had led the final campaign that drove them back into the darkness. "You speak of the humans," Kael'Shara said. "But those are just stories, Admiral. Legends to frighten children and remind us of our ancestors' strength." "Perhaps," Thexnor said, though his tone suggested he believed otherwise. "But I have seen the historical records, Princess. The weapons fragments we recovered, the destroyed colonies that bore marks of technology we still cannot replicate. Those were not legends. They were real." Before Kael'Shara could respond, a sharp alarm cut through the peaceful atmosphere of the bridge. Red emergency lights began pulsing throughout the ship. The princess felt her heart skip as crew members rushed to their stations. "Report," Thexnor barked, his warrior instincts immediately taking control. The sensor officer's face had gone pale, her hands trembling over her controls. "Admiral, we have detected an unknown vessel emerging from dark space. Distance 3,000 kilometers and closing. The signature. Sir, it matches no known classification in our database." "Show me," Thexnor commanded. The main display activated, showing a tactical readout of the surrounding space. Kael'Shara moved closer, her eyes widening as she saw the impossible reading. A massive ship was appearing on their sensors, far larger than any vessel the Valorian Empire had ever constructed. The signature was wrong, completely alien to anything in the known galaxy. "Run the signature through historical archives," Thexnor ordered, his voice tight with tension. "All of them, including restricted files." The seconds felt like hours as the computer processed the request. Kael'Shara watched the unknown vessel continue its approach, moving with purpose directly toward their position. Something cold settled in her stomach, an ancient fear that seemed to whisper from her genetic memory. The computer chimed. The sensor officer's face went from pale to completely white. "Admiral, the computer has found a match. Classification, human warship. Design designation, Dreadnought class. Last recorded sighting, 302 years ago during the Battle of the Outer Rim." Silence fell across the bridge like a physical weight. Every crew member turned to stare at the display in disbelief and growing terror. The legends were not legends at all. The void demons had returned. "Battle stations," Thexnor roared. "Raise shields! Charge all weapons! Send emergency broadcast to the nearest fleet outposts." The bridge erupted into controlled chaos as the crew followed orders. Kael'Shara stood frozen, unable to process what she was seeing. Humans were supposed to be extinct, destroyed by her great-grandfather's forces. Every history text said so. Every memorial celebrated humanity's defeat. "Princess, you must get to the escape pods," Thexnor said, gripping her shoulder. "Now!" But Kael'Shara could not move. Her eyes remained locked on the viewport as the darkness of space began to shimmer. Reality itself seemed to bend and tear as something massive pushed through from another dimension. First came a bow, angular and aggressive in design. Then the main hull emerged, covered in armor that seemed to drink in the light around it. Weapon ports lined every surface, hundreds of them, each one larger than the main cannon of a Valorian battleship. The vessel was enormous, easily 5 times the size of their diplomatic ship. Its design spoke of pure military purpose, with no consideration for aesthetics or comfort. This was a ship built for one reason only: war. Strange symbols marked its hull, letters in a language that Kael'Shara's translator implant could not process. But she could make out one word near the bow, somehow understanding its meaning through context: indomitable. "They are targeting us," the weapons officer reported, his voice cracking. "Multiple weapons locks detected. Power readings are..." "Admiral, those readings are impossible. No ship should be able to generate that much energy." Kael'Shara finally found her voice. "Try to hail them. Open all communication channels. Princess, we should..." Thexnor began. "Do it," she commanded, using the authority of her royal position. The communications officer complied, sending out greetings in every known language and frequency. For a long moment there was only silence. Then the speakers crackled to life with a sound that sent chills down Kael'Shara's spine. It was a voice speaking a language that was both alien and somehow familiar, as if it carried echoes of something ancient and primal. The translator implant struggled for a moment, then provided a translation. "Valorian vessel, this is the United Earth starship Indomitable. You are ordered to stand down and prepare to receive diplomatic envoys. Any hostile action will be met with immediate and overwhelming force. You have 60 seconds to comply." The voice was female, calm and professional, but underneath it lay something that made Kael'Shara's blood run cold. It was the voice of absolute confidence, of a predator that knew it could not be challenged. Thexnor looked at his princess, decades of military experience warring with his duty to protect her. "Your orders, Your Highness?" Kael'Shara stared at the massive warship that hung in the void before them, blocking out the stars like a piece of the darkness itself had come alive. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to fight, to do anything but submit. But she was a diplomat, trained from birth to seek peaceful solutions even in the most difficult circumstances. "Stand down our weapons," she said quietly. "Lower shields. Send a response accepting their terms." She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. "And prepare a shuttle. If they want to meet, we will meet them. Princess, that is..." "An order, Admiral," Kael'Shara said firmly. She turned to face her mentor, letting him see the fear in her eyes but also the determination. "The humans have returned. We can either face them with courage or die as cowards. I choose courage." As the crew scrambled to comply with her orders, Kael'Shara turned back to the viewport. The human warship remained motionless, a monument to 3 centuries of preparation and purpose. Whatever happened next would reshape the galaxy forever, and she would stand at the center of it all. Captain Elena Voss stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, her hands clasped behind her back as she watched the Valorian vessel comply with her orders. 300 years of waiting had led to this moment. 300 years of preparation, evolution, and anger, carefully channeled into purpose. "Status report," she said calmly. Her first officer, Commander James Park, consulted his displays. "The Valorian ship has powered down weapons and lowered shields. They are preparing a shuttle for diplomatic exchange. No other vessels within sensor range, but we are detecting emergency broadcasts on multiple frequencies." "Let them call for help," Elena said. "It changes nothing. Maintain weapons lock, but do not fire unless they make a hostile move. We are not here to slaughter diplomats." She glanced at the holographic display showing the Valorian vessel. It was elegant in design, all flowing curves and decorative elements. A ship built during peacetime, made to impress rather than to fight. The humans had once built ships like that too before everything changed. Elena's mind drifted back to the history files she had memorized since childhood. 302 years ago, humanity had reached the stars with hope and excitement. They had built colonies on distant worlds and sent diplomatic missions to make contact with alien civilizations. The Valorian Empire had been the first species they encountered. First contact had seemed positive at first. The Valorians appeared friendly and welcoming. They invited human ambassadors to their capital world and showed them the wonders of their civilization. But behind the smiles and ceremonies, the Valorian leadership was afraid. Humanity's technology was advancing too quickly. Within a few generations, humans might rival or even surpass Valorian supremacy in the sector. So Emperor Kalenvex had made a decision. He ordered a preemptive strike against every human colony while the ambassadors were still on the capital world. 50 billion humans died in a single coordinated assault. Civilian populations were wiped out with weapons designed to cause maximum suffering. The few survivors who escaped told stories of horror that still haunted humanity's collective memory. The Valorian Empire had expected humanity to collapse after such a devastating blow. Instead, the survivors retreated into dark space, the regions between galaxies where few species dared to venture. There, fueled by grief and determination, humanity rebuilt itself. They studied, adapted, and advanced their technology beyond anything the galaxy had seen. They created weapons that could tear reality itself. They enhanced their own biology to survive in impossible conditions. They built ships that could cross vast distances in moments, and they waited. They prepared. They became something more than they had been before. "Captain, the Valorian shuttle is approaching," Park reported. "Sensors indicate 7 life forms aboard. One matches the biological signature of Valorian royalty, based on our historical records." Elena felt a smile touch her lips. The princess herself. "Brave or foolish, I wonder." "Perhaps both," Park said. "Shall I prepare the diplomatic bay?" "Yes, full honor guard, but keep weapons ready." "And Commander? Make sure our guests see exactly what we have become. Let them understand what their empire created when it tried to destroy us." The next 30 minutes passed in careful preparation. Elena changed from her combat uniform into formal dress whites, the uniform reserved for diplomatic functions. The outfit was simple but elegant, with rank insignia and service medals that represented humanity's journey through the darkness. She checked her appearance in the mirror, noting the genetic modifications that were now standard among humans: enhanced bone density, improved reflexes, eyes that could see across a wider spectrum. They had changed themselves to survive and thrive in environments that would kill baseline humans. When the Valorian shuttle docked, Elena made her way to the diplomatic bay with her honor guard. 20 soldiers stood at attention, each one wearing powered armor that made them look like walking tanks. Their weapons were holstered but visible, a clear message about humanity's martial capabilities. The airlock hissed open, and the Valorians stepped through. Elena had seen images of Valorians in the historical records, but seeing them in person was different. They were tall and elegant, with blue crystalline skin that seemed to catch and reflect light in beautiful patterns. Their features were delicate, almost fragile-looking compared to humanity's harder edges. Leading the group was a female Valorian who could only be the princess. She wore robes of deep purple that marked her royal status, and her silver eyes held intelligence and barely controlled fear. "I am Princess Kael'Shara of the Valorian Empire," the alien said in accented but clear English. "I come seeking understanding and peace." Elena studied her for a moment, noting the trembling in the princess's hands that she was trying to hide. "I am Captain Elena Voss of the United Earth Starship Indomitable." "You come seeking peace, Princess? That is interesting considering your great-grandfather's actions 3 centuries ago." Kael'Shara's face showed confusion. "My great-grandfather defeated the human invasion and saved our empire from conquest. The historical records are clear." "Your historical records are lies," Elena said flatly. "Shall I show you the truth?" Without waiting for an answer, Elena gestured to the walls of the diplomatic bay. Holographic displays activated, showing footage that had been preserved for 300 years. The images showed human colonies in the moments before the Valorian attack. Children playing in parks, families eating meals together, scientists working in laboratories, all the mundane activities of peaceful civilian life. Then the bombardment began. The displays showed orbital weapons firing down on defenseless populations, atmospheric incinerators that burned entire cities, biological weapons that caused slow and agonizing deaths. The footage was uncensored, showing every horrible detail of what had been done to 50 billion humans who had no military defenses. Kael'Shara's face had gone pale, the crystalline patterns on her skin dimming. The other Valorians in her party looked equally shocked. One of them, an older male in military armor, stepped forward. "This is propaganda," he said angrily. "Human lies designed to justify aggression against our empire." Elena turned cold eyes on him. "Admiral Thexnor, I presume? Your service record is in our database. Tell me, do your historical archives mention the Battle of Sanctuary Station, where your forces executed human ambassadors who were under diplomatic protection, where children were used as living shields during the assault?" Thexnor's face showed shock that Elena knew his name. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Kael'Shara found her voice. "If what you say is true, then my entire civilization is built on a foundation of lies and genocide. Why should I believe you?" Because we have the evidence, Elena said. Sensor logs, communication records, even video from your own ships that we recovered from the wreckage. Your great-grandfather kept detailed records of his crimes. He was proud of what he did. He saw it as protecting Valorian supremacy against a potential rival. The princess looked at the displays showing the death and destruction. Tears were forming in her silver eyes. What do you want from us, revenge? Do you plan to do to us what was done to your people? Elena walked closer to the princess, seeing the fear in her eyes. We spent 300 years asking ourselves that question, princess. Some among my people want exactly that. They want to see the Valorian Empire burn as our colonies burned. They want your people to feel the pain that ours felt. She paused, letting the weight of those words sink in. But others among us believe that revenge without purpose is just more death. We have become powerful enough to destroy your empire completely. Our technology is centuries beyond yours. Our weapons could turn your homeworld into dust within hours. But doing so would make us no better than the monsters who attacked us. Then what do you want? Kael'Shara asked quietly. Truth, Elena said simply. We want the galaxy to know what really happened. We want your empire to acknowledge its crimes. We want reparations for what was taken from us, and we want humanity to take its rightful place among the galactic civilizations, not as victims or refugees, but as equals who have earned respect through survival and strength. Kael'Shara looked at her mentor, Thexnor, whose face had gone hard and expressionless. She looked at the displays still showing the horrors of the past. Then she looked back at Elena. I need to see the evidence, the princess said. All of it. If my empire truly committed these crimes, then I must know the full truth. Elena nodded with respect. Very well. You will have access to our complete historical archives. But I warn you, princess, what you learn may destroy your faith in everything you have believed. Are you prepared for that? No, Kael'Shara said honestly. But I am the heir to the Valorian throne. If my empire is built on lies and blood, then I have a responsibility to face that truth, no matter how painful. For the first time since the humans had returned, Elena felt something other than cold determination. She felt a small spark of hope that perhaps peace might be possible after all. Kael'Shara sat alone in the quarters that Captain Voss had provided for her. The room was functional and clean, without the decorative elements that marked Valorian design. Everything about the human ship spoke of efficiency and purpose. Even the walls seemed harder somehow, as if the entire vessel had been built to withstand unimaginable forces. For the past 6 hours, she had been reviewing the historical records that Elena had given her access to. The data was overwhelming and precise. Communications logs showed Valorian commanders discussing civilian targets. Sensor records proved that human colonies had no military defenses when the attacks began. Video footage from human ships showed families fleeing into space in desperate evacuation attempts, only to be destroyed by Valorian fighters. Most damning of all were the records recovered from Valorian military archives. Her great-grandfather had kept detailed journals of his decision-making process. She had read his own words describing humanity as an infection that must be purged before it can spread. He had celebrated the attacks as a triumph of Valorian superiority. There was no mention of defending against human aggression, no justification beyond naked fear of competition. Kael'Shara felt physically ill. Everything she had been taught was a lie. Her great-grandfather was not a hero who saved the empire. He was a genocidal monster who had murdered billions of innocent people to preserve Valorian dominance. A chime at her door interrupted her dark thoughts. "Enter!" she called out, her voice hoarse from hours of crying. Captain Voss stepped through carrying a tray with food and drink. The human woman's expression was neutral but not unkind. I thought you might be hungry. You have been reviewing the files for some time. How do you live with it? Kael'Shara asked suddenly. Knowing what was done to your people? How do you not hate every Valorian you see? Elena set the tray down and took a seat across from the princess. I do not hate every Valorian because you are not the ones who committed those crimes. You were not alive 300 years ago, neither was I. But we both carry the weight of our ancestors' choices. My entire civilization is built on genocide, Kael'Shara said bitterly. How can I return to my people knowing this? How can I sit on a throne that was secured through mass murder? Those are questions only you can answer, Elena replied. But I can tell you what I have learned from humanity's experience. After the attacks, the survivors had two choices. They could let grief and anger consume them, becoming nothing more than instruments of revenge. Or they could use those emotions as fuel to build something better than what was destroyed. Elena stood and gestured for Kael'Shara to follow her. "Come, let me show you something." The princess followed the captain through the corridors of the Indomitable. Everywhere she looked, Kael'Shara saw evidence of technology that far exceeded Valorian capabilities. The artificial gravity felt perfectly stable, without the minor fluctuations that all Valorian ships experienced. The lighting adjusted automatically to optimal levels. Even the air seemed fresher, precisely regulated for maximum comfort. They entered a massive observation deck that looked out over the ship's forward section. Kael'Shara gasped at what she saw. Dozens of human crew members were working at various stations, but what caught her attention was their diversity. Some had obvious genetic modifications, enhanced musculature, eyes that glowed with artificial light, even skin that seemed to shimmer with embedded technology. Others appeared baseline human. All worked together without apparent hierarchy based on their modifications. 300 years ago, humanity was just beginning to explore genetic enhancement, Elena explained. After the attacks, we had no choice but to accelerate that research. We modified ourselves to survive in dark space, where conditions are hostile to most life. We enhanced our cognitive abilities to advance our technology faster. We improved our physical capabilities to prepare for the day we would return. She turned to face Kael'Shara directly. We changed ourselves, Princess. We evolved. Not through natural selection over millions of years, but through deliberate choice over mere centuries. And in doing so, we proved something important. Humanity's greatest strength is not our weapons or our ships. It is our ability to adapt to any circumstance and emerge stronger. But you came back for revenge, Kael'Shara said. All this power, all this advancement, and you use it to threaten my empire. Is that what you think we are doing? Elena asked. Come, let me show you more. They walked to another section of the ship, passing through corridors that seemed to stretch for kilometers. Kael'Shara realized that the Indomitable was not just a warship. It was a mobile city, capable of sustaining tens of thousands of people indefinitely. Elena led her to a large chamber filled with holographic displays. Each one showed different star systems and planets. This is the human presence in the galaxy as it exists today. While your empire thought we were extinct, we were actually spreading through the dark regions, building new colonies in places your people never thought to look. The displays showed hundreds of systems, each one marked with population numbers and industrial output statistics. Kael'Shara felt her heart sink as she realized the scale of human civilization. They had not just survived. They had thrived, building an empire that might rival or exceed the Valorian Empire in size and power. We do not need to conquer your empire, Princess, Elena said quietly. We already have our own. What we need is recognition. We need the galaxy to know that humanity exists and has the right to exist. We need your empire to acknowledge what was done to us and to ensure it never happens again. My father will never agree to that, Kael'Shara said. Emperor Valenkir is proud and stubborn. He will see your demands as weakness to be exploited. Then your empire will face a choice, Elena replied. Adapt or perish. We are giving you the opportunity to choose peace with dignity. But if your people refuse, we are prepared for war. And Princess, I assure you it will not be a war your empire can win. Before Kael'Shara could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Elena's expression turned hard as she activated a communication device on her wrist. Report. Commander Park's voice came through clearly. Captain, we have multiple Valorian military vessels entering the sector. Fleet composition includes 3 battleships, 7 cruisers, and 22 support vessels. They are broadcasting demands for the Princess's immediate release and forming an attack formation. Elena looked at Kael'Shara with disappointment. Did you signal your fleet to attack? No, Kael'Shara said urgently. I gave no such order. My father must have sent them when we failed to report in. Captain, the Valorian fleet is charging weapons, Park reported. They are demanding we surrender the Indomitable or face destruction. Time to weapons range, 90 seconds. Elena tapped her communicator. Battle stations. All hands prepare for combat. Do not fire unless fired upon. I repeat, do not initiate hostilities. She turned back to Kael'Shara. You need to contact your fleet and order them to stand down. If they attack us, we will defend ourselves and many of your people will die. Kael'Shara rushed to a communication console and opened a channel. This is Princess Kale Shara to the Valorian fleet. Stand down immediately. Do not attack. I am safe and engaged in diplomatic negotiations. The face that appeared on the screen was not her father, but Admiral Mexthor, one of the Empire's most aggressive military commanders. His expression was cold and dismissive. Princess, you are clearly under duress. We will liberate you from these human monsters and avenge the insult to the Empire. There is no insult, Kale Shara shouted. I am ordering you as heir to the throne to cease hostile actions. I take my orders from Emperor Valenkir, not from his child, Mexthor said with contempt. The Emperor has declared you compromised by human influence. Stand clear of the human vessel if you can. We will destroy it momentarily. The screen went dark. Kale Shara turned to Elena in horror. They are going to attack. My father has disowned me. Elena's face showed no fear, only grim determination. Then we will show them why that was a mistake. Come, Princess. You are about to witness what humanity has become. She led Kale Shara to the main bridge, where dozens of crew members were working with calm efficiency despite the approaching threat. The main display showed the Valorian fleet accelerating toward them, weapons charging. All ships, this is Captain Voss, Elena said into the fleet communication system. Defensive formation Delta. Shields to maximum. Weapons free on my command only. Let us show them we are not the victims they remember. On the display, Kale Shara watched as more human ships began appearing. They emerged from what looked like tiers in space itself, simply materializing around the Indomitable. Within seconds, 40 human warships surrounded the lone human dreadnought, each one bristling with weapons. The Valorian fleet, which had seemed so imposing moments ago, now looked small and inadequate by comparison. Valorian fleet, Elena broadcast on all frequencies. You are outmatched and outgunned. Stand down or face destruction. This is your only warning. For a moment, Kale Shara hoped that Mexthor would see reason. But she knew the Admiral's reputation. He would never retreat without firing a shot. Not with the Emperor watching. The first Valorian battleship fired its main cannon at the Indomitable. Here we go, Elena said quietly. May whatever gods you believe in have mercy on their souls, because we will not. The battle was about to begin, and Kale Shara could only watch in horror as her people rushed toward their doom. The Valorian battleship's main cannon fired with enough force to vaporize a small moon. The blue beam of concentrated energy streaked across space toward the Indomitable, with deadly purpose. Kale Shara held her breath, knowing that her people had just made a catastrophic mistake. The beam struck the human dreadnought's shields and simply disappeared. The energy dissipated across the barrier like water hitting hot metal, causing no damage whatsoever. The Indomitable did not even shake from the impact. Impressive, Elena said calmly, watching the tactical display. Their weapons have improved since our last encounter 3 centuries ago. Not enough to matter, but improved nonetheless. Captain, the Valorian fleet is firing all weapons, Commander Park reported. Multiple beam weapons, plasma torpedoes, and kinetic missiles incoming. The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, their movements calm and precise despite the incoming fire. Kale Shara watched the main display as dozens of weapons converged on the human fleet. It was enough firepower to destroy a planet's surface, concentrated on a handful of ships. The human vessels did not even bother to move. Their shields absorbed every impact, the advanced defensive systems breaking down the attacks at the quantum level. The Valorians might as well have been throwing stones at mountains. Return fire, Elena ordered. Disable their weapons and engines only. I want minimal casualties. Yes, Captain. The Indomitable's weapons came alive. Unlike the bright, flashy beams of Valorian weapons, the human systems were almost invisible. Gravitational lances reached out across space, bending reality itself to crush specific targets. Railguns fired projectiles at relativistic speeds, each one guided by AI systems that made precision hits on enemy weapon ports. Energy weapons that operated in dimensions the Valorians could not even detect struck with surgical accuracy. In less than 10 seconds, the 3 Valorian battleships were disabled. Their main cannons exploded from internal detonations. Their engines went dark as power systems were systematically destroyed. The ships were left floating in space, alive but helpless. The cruisers lasted 15 seconds. The support vessels 20. Kale Shara stared in disbelief at the tactical display. An entire Valorian fleet, destroyed without the human ships sustaining any damage. It had not been a battle. It had been a demonstration of total technological superiority. "Open a channel to the Valorian flagship," Elena ordered. Admiral Mexthor's face appeared on screen, his expression a mixture of shock and rage. Behind him, the bridge of his ship was in chaos, with crew members trying to restore systems and treat injuries from exploding consoles. "You have attacked us without provocation," Elena said coldly. "Under the laws of war that humanity still honors, we would be within our rights to destroy every ship in your fleet. However, we are not interested in pointless slaughter. Your ships are disabled but intact. Your crews are alive. You will drift here until rescue arrives." "You will regret this," Mexthor snarled. "The full might of the Valorian Empire will crush you." "The full might of your empire cannot touch us, Admiral," Elena replied. "But if you wish to try, we will be waiting. Perhaps next time your emperor will send someone with more wisdom and less pride." She closed the channel and turned to Kailshara. "Princess, you need to make a choice. You can return to your people and tell them what you have seen, or you can remain with us and help broker a real peace, but you cannot do both." Before Kailshara could answer, her personal communicator activated. Her father's face appeared, the Emperor himself contacting her directly. His expression was cold and hard, lacking any of the warmth he usually showed his daughter. "Kailshara," he said formally, dropping her title. "You have betrayed your empire and your family. Admiral Mexthor reports that you sided with the humans during the battle." "I tried to stop the battle," Kailshara protested. "I ordered Mexthor to stand down. He refused and attacked anyway." "Because he understood what you apparently do not," her father said. "These humans are a threat to everything we have built. They must be destroyed before they can challenge our supremacy. Our supremacy was built on genocide," Kailshara shouted, her emotions finally breaking through her royal composure. "I have seen the evidence, father. Great-grandfather ordered the massacre of 50 billion humans who had done nothing wrong. Everything we believe about the human war is a lie." "Be silent," Emperor Valankir roared. "I will not hear treason from my own daughter. Whatever the humans have told you is propaganda designed to weaken your resolve. The historical truth is what we have always known. Humanity attacked us and we defended ourselves." "Then explain the records," Kailshara demanded. "Explain great-grandfather's journals where he admits to ordering preemptive strikes against civilian populations. Explain the sensor logs showing human colonies with no military defenses. Explain—" "Enough!" her father interrupted. "You are no longer heir to the Valorian throne. You are no longer my daughter. By the authority vested in me as emperor, I declare you traitor to the empire. If you return to Valorian space, you will be arrested and executed for treason." Kailshara felt as if she had been physically struck. In the span of a single day, she had lost everything: her position, her family, her identity. The only thing she had left was the truth, and her father refused to even acknowledge it. "So be it," she said quietly. "If speaking truth makes me a traitor, then I accept that title. But father, I promise you this. I will not stop fighting for peace. Even if you disown me, even if the Empire condemns me, the galaxy will know what really happened 300 years ago. Then you will die with the humans when we destroy them," her father said coldly. "May the ancestors judge you harshly for your betrayal." The communication ended. Kailshara stood in silence, feeling the weight of her choice. She had given up everything to stand for what was right, but the cost was more than she had imagined. Elena placed a hand on the princess's shoulder. "I am sorry. I know what it means to lose your home and family. What do I do now?" Kailshara asked, her voice breaking. "You do what we did," Elena replied. "You survive. You adapt. You become something more than you were before." She turned to address her crew. "Lieutenant Hayes, prepare quarters for an extended guest. Princess Kailshara will be staying with us." Before the lieutenant could respond, new alarms sounded throughout the bridge. The tactical officer's voice was urgent. "Captain, we have multiple new contacts entering the sector. Signature analysis identifies them as Kryn Collective warships, 3 full battle groups." Elena's expression hardened. The Kryn, of course. They would see this chaos as an opportunity. Kailshara felt a new wave of fear. The Kryn Collective was a ruthless empire that had been held in check only by Valorian military might. If they thought the empire was weakened, they would strike without mercy. And with the Valorian fleet disabled and scattered, there was nothing to stop them from invading multiple systems. "Captain, we are receiving a transmission from the Kryn flagship. the communications officer reported. A new face appeared on the display. The Kryn were insectoid in appearance, with multiple eyes and mandibles that clicked when they spoke. The translator rendered the aliens' words into English. Human vessels, this is Swarm Commander Zix Thara of the Kryn Collective. We have observed your conflict with the Valorians. We propose an alliance. Together we can partition the Valorian Empire between our civilizations. You clearly have the power to take whatever you wish. Elena's response was immediate and cold. Swarm Commander, humanity has no interest in conquest or in partnering with opportunistic predators. We have a grievance with the Valorian Empire, but we do not wage war on innocents. Withdraw your forces immediately. The Kryn commander's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. You misunderstand your position, human. We are not asking for permission. The Valorians are weak. Their fleet is scattered. Their princess is your prisoner. This sector will fall to the collective whether you approve or not. Last warning, Elena said. Withdraw or be removed. You cannot fight both the Valorians and the Kryn, Zix Thara said confidently. Stand aside or be destroyed with them. Elena looked at Kale Shara, then back at the display. You know what, Commander? You just made this very easy for me. She turned to her crew. All ships, new targets. The Kryn Collective has declared hostile intent against civilian populations. Show them why that was a mistake. Kyle Shara watched in amazement as the human fleet, which moments ago had been fighting Valorians, now moved to intercept the Kryn. Even the disabled Valorian vessels seemed confused by the sudden shift. Captain, Kale Shara said urgently, you are going to defend my people, after everything that has happened? Elena looked at her with eyes that held both steel and compassion. Princess, your empire committed horrible crimes against humanity. But the civilians in the systems the Kryn are targeting did not make those decisions. They do not deserve to die for their leaders' mistakes. If we stood by and let them be slaughtered, we would be no better than those who attacked us. She raised her voice to address her crew. All vessels engagement rules. Protect civilian populations at all costs. The Kryn want war. Let us show them what happens when they threaten innocents. As the human fleet moved to intercept the Kryn forces, Kale Shara felt something she had not expected to feel again. Hope. Perhaps peace was possible after all. Perhaps strength and mercy could coexist. The battle for the future of the sector was about to begin, and this time Valorians and humans would fight on the same side. 6 months had passed since the Battle of the Void, as historians were now calling it. Kale Shara stood in the observation lounge of the newly constructed diplomatic station, watching ships from dozens of species come and go. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The battle against the Kryn had been swift and decisive. The human fleet had destroyed the Kryn invasion force while protecting Valorian civilian populations. Word of humanity's restraint and power had spread throughout the sector like wildfire. Some civilizations viewed humans with fear, others with respect, but none could deny their presence any longer. The Valorian Empire had fractured in the aftermath. Some worlds supported Emperor Valankir's hardline stance against humanity, but many others had questioned the official history. Once evidence of the ancient genocide became public, Kale Shara had made sure of that, broadcasting the truth on every frequency she could access. The Empire was now split between traditionalists who clung to the old lies and reformists who demanded accountability. You look tired, a familiar voice said from behind her. Kyle Shara turned to see Elena Voss approaching, carrying 2 cups of human coffee. The captain had become an unexpected friend over the past months. She accepted the cup gratefully. I am tired, Kale Shara admitted. I have been negotiating for 16 hours straight. The Valorian traditionalists refused to accept the terms of the accord. They claim that acknowledging the genocide would destroy the Empire's legitimacy. They are not wrong about that, Elena said, joining her at the viewport. But sometimes institutions built on lies need to be destroyed, so something better can take their place. Easy for you to say, Kyle Shara replied, though without anger. Your people have already built something new. Mine are still clinging to a past that never existed. Elena sipped her coffee thoughtfully. The past 6 months have been difficult for humanity as well. There are many among my people who wanted revenge, who felt we were too soft on the Valorians. They do not understand why we defended Valorian civilians after what was done to us. Why did you? Kale Shara asked. I have never truly understood. You had every right to let the Kryn attack. You could have stood aside and watched my people suffer as yours did. Elena was quiet for a moment, her eyes distant. Because we are better than that. We had to be. If we became monsters to fight monsters, then what was the point of survival? Humanity's greatest strength is not our weapons or our technology. It is our ability to choose mercy even when revenge would be easier. She turned to face Kael'Shara directly. And because of you, Princess. You gave up everything to stand for truth. You lost your throne, your family, your entire identity to do what was right. How could we respond to that courage with cowardice? Kael'Shara felt emotion tightening her throat. I only did what any decent person should do. No, Elena said firmly. Most people protect their own comfort over truth. Most people choose denial over difficult reality. You chose differently. That matters. Before Kael'Shara could respond, her communicator chimed. It was Commander Park requesting their presence in the main conference hall. The final session of the Void Accord negotiations was about to begin. The conference hall was massive, designed to accommodate representatives from multiple species. Valorian reformists sat on one side of the chamber, human delegations on another. Representatives from neutral species occupied the middle sections, serving as mediators and witnesses. The traditionalist Valorians had refused to attend, but that was expected. Admiral Thexnor was present, representing a faction of Valorian military officers who had broken with the Emperor. The old warrior had aged visibly in the past months, the weight of truth crushing the certainty he had carried his entire life. When he saw Kael'Shara, he offered a small nod of respect. She returned it, grateful that at least one person from her old life had chosen honor over loyalty. The negotiations were complex and difficult. The human side demanded formal acknowledgement of the genocide, reparations for the descendants of survivors, and guarantees of non-aggression. The Valorian reformists struggled to meet these demands while maintaining some semblance of stability in their fragmenting empire. Kael'Shara had positioned herself as a bridge between both sides. She was no longer Valorian royalty and not quite human, but something in between. A person without a home who could speak to both civilizations with understanding and honesty. The stumbling block remains the same, said Ambassador Chen, one of the senior human diplomats. The Valorian government must formally acknowledge the genocide and issue a public apology. Without that, there can be no peace. The Empire will collapse if we do that, argued Senator Vexkara, a reformist Valorian. Half our world still believe the old history. If we suddenly announce that it was all lies, we will have civil war. Then you will have civil war, Elena said from her position at the human delegation table. We are not asking you to choose between truth and stability. We are telling you that there is no stability without truth. The lies will catch up to you eventually. Better to face them now on your terms than later when circumstances are worse. Captain Voss is correct, Kael'Shara added. I have visited 17 Valorian worlds in the past months. The younger generations are already questioning the official narrative. They see humanity's technology and ask how we could have defeated them 3 centuries ago. They see human mercy toward our civilians and wonder why we were taught to fear them as monsters. The truth is spreading whether the government acknowledges it or not. Thexnor stood slowly, his aged body moving with difficulty. I fought for the Empire for 60 years. I believed in its righteousness. I taught young officers that our strength came from moral superiority. His voice was heavy with pain. I was wrong. We built our civilization on genocide and lies. Every medal I wear, every honor I received is tainted by that truth. He reached up and removed his military insignia, placing them on the table before him. I support full acknowledgement of our crimes. If the Empire cannot survive truth, then it does not deserve to survive. The gesture sent shockwaves through the Valorian delegation. Thexnor was a living legend, a symbol of military honor. For him to publicly renounce his decorations was a statement that could not be ignored. Hours of debate followed, but gradually, resistance crumbled. The Valorian reformists agreed to draft a formal acknowledgement of the genocide, to be broadcast throughout the Empire. They agreed to establish a memorial fund for human descendants. They agreed to open diplomatic relations with humanity as equals rather than former enemies. In return, humanity agreed to provide military support against external threats like the Kryn, to share certain technologies to help rebuild Valorian infrastructure, and to pursue peace rather than punishment. As the final terms were being formalized, Kelshara felt her communicator vibrate with an incoming message. She glanced at it and felt her heart skip. The message was from her father. "I need to step outside for a moment," she said quietly to Elena. In a private corridor, she opened the full message. Her father's face appeared, and she was shocked to see how much he had aged. The Emperor looked tired and defeated. "Kelshara," he said, using her name properly for the first time in months. "I have been watching the negotiations. I have reviewed the evidence you made public, and I have come to understand that I was wrong." He paused, and she saw genuine emotion in his eyes. "Your great-grandfather was my hero. I built my entire worldview around his legacy. Accepting that he was a monster has been difficult, but I can no longer deny the truth." "Father," Kelshara said softly. "I am not asking for forgiveness," he continued. "I disowned you when you stood for truth. I called you a traitor when you were the only one being honest. I do not deserve your forgiveness, but I want you to know that I am proud of you. You were braver than I was, stronger than I was. You gave up everything to do what was right. That is the mark of a true leader, and I failed to see it." He looked directly into the camera. "I am announcing my abdication effective immediately. The Valorian Empire needs new leadership unburdened by the lies of the past, and you, my daughter, should be that leader. If you will accept, I am formally proposing that the reformist government name you as the new head of state." Kelshara stood in shock, unable to process what she was hearing. Return to leadership? After everything that had happened? "I know it is a lot to ask," her father said, "but you are the only one who can bridge the gap between past and future. You are the only one both humans and Valorians trust. Think about it. The Empire needs you." The message ended. Kelshara stood alone in the corridor, her mind racing. She returned to the conference hall to find the final documents being prepared for signature. Elena noticed her distress and approached. "What happened?" "My father abdicated," Kelshara said numbly. "He wants me to return as head of state." Elena studied her carefully. "What do you want?" "I do not know," Kelshara admitted. 6 months ago I would have been thrilled, but now I am not sure I even belong with the Valorians anymore. I feel caught between two worlds, not fully part of either." "Then make a new world," Elena suggested. "You do not have to choose between Valorian and human. You can be both. You can be the bridge that connects them." Over the next hour, as the signing ceremony approached, Kelshara made her decision. She would accept her father's offer, but on her own terms. She would lead not the old Valorian Empire, but a new Valorian Republic built on truth and accountability. She would work alongside humanity rather than in opposition to it. The signing ceremony was historic. Representatives from both civilizations gathered as Kelshara and Elena signed the Void Accord, officially ending the ancient hostility and establishing a framework for cooperation. Cameras broadcast the moment throughout the galaxy. "This accord represents more than peace between our peoples," Kelshara said in her statement. "It represents a choice to value truth over comfort, justice over pride, and the future over the past. We acknowledge the crimes of our ancestors not to assign blame, but to ensure such horrors never happen again." Elena spoke next. "Humanity returns to the galactic community not seeking revenge or dominance, but partnership and mutual respect. We have learned hard lessons about the cost of hatred and the value of mercy. We offer our strength not as conquerors, but as defenders of those who cannot defend themselves." As the ceremony concluded and representatives mingled, Kelshara found herself standing beside Elena once more. They looked out at the crowd of humans and Valorians speaking together, beginning to forge connections that would define the next era of galactic history. "Do you think it will last?" Kelshara asked. "Or will old hatreds resurface?" "Probably both," Elena said honestly. "Peace is never permanent. It requires constant work and vigilance, but we have laid a foundation. What we build on it is up to future generations." "Together?" Kelshara asked. "Together," Elena confirmed. As they stood watching the birth of a new era, neither woman could know all the challenges that would come. But they had proven something important, that courage and truth could overcome even the darkest legacies. That former enemies could become allies. That the future did not have to be bound by the sins of the past. The Void Accord was just the beginning.